Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Life, Love, and Existential Dread. My name is Brian Arata, a film composer in Los Angeles, California, and my co-host. He's an actor, writer, director, producer, the Man in Black, not to be confused with Men in Black, Johnny Cash, but also known as Nathan Shelton. How you doing, Nathan?
Well, I fell into a burning ring of fire, but I'm all better now.
I heard about that. I was like, I know him, so I just want to check in with you, see how you're doing.
Yeah, there are lots of healing internally and externally. Inner fire is good though.
Inner fire. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, kind of wanted to do a bit of a season finale episode today. We've been running all year with this podcast series, and just kind of want to say, here's our last one of the year for season one, and maybe kind of reboot or retool or keep going next year with another season. But this is kind of like our last one of this season, and just kind of want to do like a little sign off one this year with let everybody know that this will be the last one of the year. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. It's been an interesting ride, getting the ins and outs of this and figuring out what we wanted to do with the show. And thank you, so far to all of the listeners that are out there that are checking it out and sharing it with friends. We're glad that you're here with us.
Yeah, and very interesting learning about all this stuff. I mean, I was listening to podcasts, as you do too. You listen to podcasts, and you have your own Frightmare Theater podcast, so you know how to produce these things, but I had never done it. And I'm listening to these other ones. I'm like, man, I could do it. Nathan and I have great conversations. We could do it. I think it'd be pretty easy to do. But I learned a lot about it, particularly audio editing and everything. I get in there. I'm just like you. I'm real detailed. I was like, when the other person is not speaking, you are muted out, and it just takes time to do all that stuff. I make a lot of creepy and weird noises. I hit the mic and everything, so you got to get rid of all that stuff, And
the Michael Myers breathing.
Yeah, and just obnoxious noises. I was like, people are listening to this. They got their headphones on or whatever. I was like, make it good, clean audio.
Maybe next season we call the show Two Creepy White Guys. How's that?
Yeah, and I'll leave all that stuff in.
Yeah, just leave it all in. It's easier work for us, and then we get all the other creepy white guys in the world just to listen to us, because that's probably all who's listening right now. Who knows?
Yeah. This is authentic, unedited. Yeah, unedited. But I want it to be good, clean audio. That's the thing. I got these. Right. Yes, I use these Power Beats Pro, but when I'm editing, I use my really fancy, expensive headphones, and those things don't miss anything. And so when I hear something, I was like, oh man, I got to get in there and fix it. And Zoom does a pretty decent job, but still one of their filters has this high frequency garble that drives me nuts. So I don't want to use the Zoom audio, so that's why we record our own, and then you send it to me and edit it and everything. But then I was surprised how easy it was to edit all this stuff in iMovie as well. So
oh, really?
I was doing the video.
Oh,
and the
right,
audio.
That's how you edit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was doing all that stuff in iMovie. I was like, man, it's pretty good. It turns out pretty decent product. So it's been a learning process. And another thing I want to do is increase my communication skills. When I was a teacher, what you do, you talk and talk all day long. So you kind of get used to, responding and being a better communicator, obviously as a teacher. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I got a job with Family Guy and everything. But then when the season was off, there wasn't any work. So I got a job as a bartender. And I think that increased my communication skills a bit as well. I quit that a long time ago so I could compose music full time. So now, most days I don't even talk to anybody. And so I was like, man, I really want to get those communication skills back. So that was another reason to start this whole thing, was to, we always have good conversations. You're really sharp and quick and funny and everything. I was like, man, I got to step it up to that level, and try to get some of those communication skills back. So still working on that, I think. But
your expertise is not in a social medium. Your expertise is in a very kind of isolated. I mean, even though it's a team environment, and of course in filmmaking, everything is very collaborative, but you're in a very, isolated. You do a lot of your stuff, either at home in a studio or your section of something, whereas I grew up, being trained to be very outgoing and work with a cast and a crew, and then moving into directing to lead groups of people and things like that. And those, it's just a different honing of skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that I think it was a fun idea to decide to take some of our conversations that we had and broadcast them out to the world. Some people might find them interesting. Some people are going through the same things that we're going through, and definitely people during COVID in the entertainment industry. It was a crazy time. I mean, it's a crazy time, not just in the entertainment industry, it's a crazy time across the world. So this gave us both something to do, something
Yep.
to put ourselves into, something to learn and grow. And I think that's all we can really do in this life, right? Is try everything and keep learning and growing and pushing ourselves and discovering new things. And we've both learned a lot, and it's fun. It's fun, this whole process.
Well, and like I was saying, I was listening to so many podcasts, and just like, oh, what's the format of this one? And a lot of them are what we do. It's just a bunch of people, two people at minimum,
Talking
of course,
heads. Yeah.
or sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's just a guy talking, for like 2 hours straight. And I was like, man, I could do that. I think I can. And then I'm also listening to some of the audio quality on some of this. Like, man, that is terrible. Who's doing the audio editing on this thing? I can do a better job than that. So I was like, man, I really think I could do it. We're getting to the some level of expertise with all this, just doing it. And I have noticed I think my communication skills getting a little bit better, but for the most part, yeah, what you're saying,
One of these days you'll be a real boy.
yes, I'll learn how to speak the English language and
You'll be able to go out and talk to people.
get my point across and say, hey, I can speak to people. It is possible for me to use my communication skills. But that was one thing. When I was a bartender, I was like, man, I was a lot quicker and a lot faster. I wasn't necessarily funnier, but I did notice that I was getting better at it because, that's a lot of it is just sitting there talking or listening to people. And, of course, that's a huge part of communication too, is listening.
Absolutely.
But I thought I was quicker and better. And then these last few years not doing it, I was like, kind of lost that skill a bit. So
You fall out of practice. Yeah. Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that the
yeah,
saying?
yes, we talked about that on episode
did.
1.
We did. So it's coming full circle. But that's true that, in a job where you're a bartender or when you're running a podcast, you have to do certain things and you kind of push past your comfort zone. I think, and we've talked about this too, I think on the show in various episodes about how, no one likes to be uncomfortable. No one likes to, it's easier, it's safer just to not push and to be like, okay, well, I'm comfortable here. I'm comfortable not going out in public or talking to people in public or not, letting whatever's going on inside of me out and whatever it is. But really, in order to grow, in order to become, in order to feel even more comfortable in your skin, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable because it pushes you towards whatever next thing you're going towards. If all of us got away from everything that made us feel uncomfortable and just hid away, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and never faced it head on, we would never move. We would just stay in the same place. So kudos to you for breaking your mold and getting to, Bryan 2.0 and moving to Bryan 3.0 and then moving on. Soon you'll be at your final form and the world will be, your oyster or your servants, whatever you want. If you're a benevolent Bryan, you could be a benevolent Bryan or you could be a malevolent Bryan. Fingers crossed for benevolent Bryan.
Yeah, but I'm trying for I'd rather be benevolent Bryan, known for that.
Yeah. You wouldn't like benevolent Bryan when he's angry.
Oh no. But that's well. And one other thing, also, I just remembered this when I was a bartender. My short-term memory got better as well because you're like, because I was a bartender at the Marriott here in Woodland Hills. And you had to go out and, serve people and get drinks and drink orders. I was like, man, I don't want to take the paper. I was like, I think I can memorize it. I got to the point where I could memorize a whole bunch of stuff, a lot of it. And my ultimate test, and there's like this group of people. There's these hairdressers that come to the hotel on a regular basis, and you get to know them a little bit because they're there every couple of months and everything. And there was 20 of them outside waiting for drinks. I was like, okay, let me see if I can get 20 drinks in a row. And so I didn't take a notepad or anything. And so I'm going through getting them all these things, and these two guys are looking at me kind of strange. I'm kind of like, you want something else? Like, you want to change your drink order or something like that? And they're like, no, 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 no. And so I keep going through the rounds of people and everything, and I know I'm getting it right because I had this system of memorizing. You say the first one, they say the first and the second one, they say the first, second, and third one, and all the way
Mm,
through. So you're constantly remembering everything as you get all the way through there.
yep.
I was like, I think I can do it. Get to 20. And then these two guys are still kind of staring at me like they wanted something else. And I look back at them again. I was like, are you sure? Do you want a menu or something? What's going on with you guys? And they're like, no, 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 no. So I go back, get all the drinks, and I have this huge tray, and I bring them out, and bam, 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 go through everybody, and I got it 100% right. And this one guy goes, God damn it! And I was like, what, man? He's like, I just lost $100. I bet my friend here that you were going to mess up, and screw up the drinks. And it's like, you got it all 100% right. Here's $20. The guy that won, $20. I was like, I'm sorry, I got this, higher level of short-term memory, and this.
Benevolent Bryan Strikes
Yeah,
Again.
see, and I got a little tip for it too. So
That's great.
skill.
That actually serves you, if you were going to be an actor, that serves you
Yeah.
very well because you get sides, for an audition. Sometimes you don't get them very quickly. Sometimes you get them a day before. Sometimes you get them a while. But most of the time, it's like, hey, we need you to audition for this. Here's your sides. Or you're on set. You've got the gig. You're going in, and they're like, yeah, we changed the script last night. Oh, that happens all the time. And then you're
Yeah.
having to like quickly change, but be in character and, be attentive and, convey truth and honesty and performance with dialogue that's not lived in, and sometimes it's not good dialogue or sometimes it's not something you would say, so that serves you really well. I mean, and of course, conversationally. Yep. I mean, the gift of gab, the schmoozing, as it were,
Well,
the
yeah.
ability to do that.
And interviewing people, remembering what they said 5, 10, 20 minutes ago, I mean, of course, that's skill. But also, same thing as the, being quick-witted and talking quickly. I kind of lost that skill of that short-term memory. So I was like, man, well, I know I can do it because I did it before. So it's kind of like that. But um, I don't know. So these skills coming in and out, just kind of want to keep them going. It's like maybe the podcast will help, maybe not, but we'll see.
So do you feel like throughout this season as talking and broadcasting this out and marketing it as it were, I mean, we don't do a lot of marketing for this particular show, but getting it out to friends and being on, so to speak, has made you a better version of yourself, a stronger version of yourself, a more confident version of yourself?
I think so. I mean, I think my skills have increased a bit, definitely on both sides, talking and listening, and re-listening to the episodes and rewatching the things. I was like, oh man, I know what I'm going to say next or what I'll probably say next. I don't remember totally every single thing I said on every episode, but I was like, I think it's increased some, and not letting you talk the whole time. I was like, step up, interrupt, and say what I want to say, and don't let Nathan, hog the airtime,
Well, and that's partially me too, because that's one thing I always have to work on is, and this has helped me out a lot too, because I'm an Aries baby, I'm a
Me
dominant
too.
personality, and I'm right, but there's a few different kinds of Aries too.
But yeah, but I'm not that level you're at. So
Yeah, and I'm just kind of a bull in a china shop sometimes when it's like, okay, and I don't like downtime, especially when in a recording, if I'm being interviewed or something, I'm going to fill it. I'm going to try my best to fill it. And I can talk about anything pretty much except for sports. But other than sports balls, I can't really talk about, or I can talk about anything. So, those first few episodes too, I felt the need to keep it going, keep it fresh, keep it, got to keep, I don't want airtime, I don't want to have people be bored or whatever. But in doing so, I don't actively listen. And that's something, former partners of mine have said, not like business partners, but like, lovers, exes, and my wife, all my things. It's always a lesson that's reoccurring in my life is, hey, listen to me, really listen to me. And because I assume and I push forward because I'm always trying to fix a problem or progress towards something. And sometimes it's better to just sit back and really listen and take stock of what's really going on and really let that other person kind of wash over you. And that has been a huge lesson to me. This podcast has helped me with that. And I feel like I've gotten better at that. And so I thank you for wanting to do this and for these conversations. I think I'm a better father, friend, husband, um, leader, manager, director, and an actor in because of these lessons that are partially learned from doing this, from realizing, hey, I need to not push so much and just just listen. So it's definitely a learning curve, and I'm still working on it, and I'll probably be working on it for the rest of my life, honestly. But yeah,
Constantly listening and learning what the other person is going through, empathy and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah, that's a lifelong skill. I think nobody ever masters. But you mentioned the marketing thing earlier, and I didn't realize how difficult that was. We had many conversations like, who is going to be our audience? It can't just be our friends and family listen to this thing. You got to get other people interested in it. And I was like, I knew it was an uphill battle because we don't really have a celebrity name with either of us. Even though I think I am a celebrity, I know I'm not. Um, and, uh, and I was like, okay, so we got to get friends, and get these people interested in the podcast. And it's like, well, we're friended to, we have a channel or we have an account on Twitter. Life Love Existential Dread an account on Twitter and on Instagram. So I'm friending people that way and trying to get all these
and
people
Facebook, yeah,
and Facebook, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to chime in and
right.
listen and everything. But I was like, well, that's how we build an audience that way, and that's I realize that that's a pretty uphill battle if you don't have a celebrity name or like a specific genre when it's instead of just two guys talking about whatever subject may come up. So that was one difficult thing to learn is like you got to build an audience. It takes time. It's not going to happen in obviously a couple weeks, couple months, even a year or so.
Well, especially in today's world too, with social media, and we've talked about this. I know not in the show, but off air with each other. That the way that these algorithms that have changed in social media, and I'm not talking anything about Elon Musk and Twitter and all that bullshit, but like just the changes that have gone on in monetizing those platforms for advertising, whereas before it was a very open community. It started out very just like basically boards, people are talking, right? And so you can use an image to talk on Instagram, or you can use your words and postings and sharing different things and videos and stuff on Facebook. And over the years, it's just gone more and more that if you're sharing a link, those sites really want you to advertise to get people to go to it. And so I'm finding, because I'm not on social media for my own mental health these days, I'm not on social media much anymore. I mean, I say that, but I still check things almost daily, but I don't post a lot and I don't go down the rabbit hole. And, um, I'm trying to get even less on social media than I am currently. But by doing that, I don't have a presence, and I know you're not on social media all that much either. And so it's hard because people just don't see your posts anymore. Friends don't see your posts. Whereas, a couple years ago, I would have hundreds of people liking, sharing, loving, commenting on my posts. And now it's like pulling teeth to get like 13 likes or without paying. And because I'm mainly on there to talk about Frightmare Theater, or to talk about Life, Love, and Existential Dread, or whatever play or film I'm working on, or something like that, or sharing friends things. If somebody gets something, like sharing Kevin Kepi in Smile or something like that. And it's hard because it's forcing you to spend money that you don't really have on these smaller projects. And that's just, it doesn't seem worth it to me to keep to pour money into the advertising there. There's got to be another way, and I'm sure that there will be other platforms that come up exactly for people like us, smaller artists who are working and don't have huge budgets to do this kind of stuff. And I'm hoping because it is an uphill battle with marketing these days. What used to be, I mean, it changes all the time, but I think it's really challenging right now, and it's no fault of ours. We're doing things the way that we knew to do them, the way it was a few years ago. But that landscape has drastically changed.
Yeah, so many podcasts out there, just with celebrity names, big time celebrity names. I mean, it just goes on and on. Like, how could people listen to all these things? So yes, I agree with that. And another, I don't know, annoying thing about it is you get particularly the Instagram account would get bombarded with people wanting to promote the podcast, and you pay them so they promote it. These people find the account, and want to try to promote it and give them money to promote it. And I'm like, I I don't want to give you any money to do that. I was like, that is so annoying. But I was like, we're trying to get listeners, and then I get all these companies or individual people that are like, hey, give me money, I'll help you, get an audience, what have you.
And there are services out there that are legit, but there are billions of services out there that are not legit, and and they're just like farms of people that are, just doing clicks and stuff like that. It's like contest people, like, oh, tell us, we'll vote for you and stuff like that. It's like, I ignore all of those kind of messages. I love it when actual listeners will talk to us or give us a rating or share the show, or, just reach out via text, or for people who know me, or send us an email or something. That's great. But, and organic word of mouth is so hard, because just to get it in front of people, it's on a national, international scope. But we do have a lot of people listening to the show internationally, and that's great. And the fact that, that so far that we have as many as we do listening, and I'm very thankful for that, and those that have stayed with us throughout the show, and like our wonderful guests that we've had on this season, like Daryl Clonch and Alan Marsh, and and Kevin Kepi,
and my friend Curtis Bedford, he filled in for you once while you were in Mexico. Curtis Bedford.
Yeah, we had some great guests on this season, and that's something we didn't know we were going to do, but it was just so much fun to catch up with some good friends, and see what they're doing in their life, and how they're dealing with life, love, and existential dread, and it's good, and so. Yeah, I think that if we were to do a second season, if we do come back, maybe the show changes a little bit. Maybe we decide to pivot it a little bit and do something maybe a little different. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe keep it the same way, but I think it'd be great to hear from you all, from people out there who are listening to the show. Give us some ideas. Also, please share the show. Please like the show. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Give us a rating, and drop a line in there, and let people know what you think of the show. We really appreciate it. It helps us get higher on lists of podcasts. It helps us get out into the world. And so if you like what you hear, please help us, because we want to keep it going in some form. We'd love it if you'd send us an email. Our email is in the show notes, or hit us up on Twitter or Instagram too, because your opinion does matter, and we want you. We always invite you to join our conversation, and give us some ideas of what you might like to see out of this show if we were to continue for a second season.
Absolutely,
I think that'd be exciting to get that feedback.
Yeah, that'd be so great. Yeah, because we're still kind of contemplating what's the second season going to be. More of the same, or anything.
It's a mystery. It's up in the air. If we come back, what would we do?
But an outside perspective. We're kind of in our own heads about this because it's our show. I was like, no, I want to hear what an audience member saying. Yes, so please, just what Nathan said. Tell us what you think. Okay, last thing I wanted to say about this, and we can wrap it up if you want. But I remember starting the first couple ones, and I was like, oh, I need to get a good camera and get a good microphone. And I did buy a decent microphone. And I was like, man, I really don't want to spend a camera. I had this crappy webcam that looks terrible, and it's like, oh, it's 1080, but it's all this grainy crap. I can't do that. So I found this app called Camo. And the camera that I'm using is my iPhone, and then that's connected to Zoom. I was like, man, that's pretty good. But it's my iPhone, so I had to, use all this tape to tape it to the top of my computer screen to make it, and I'm really nervous about it because I don't want it to fall down in the middle of the show or anything. So it's just this gobs and gobs of tape to attach it to the screen. But now I can do it with 2 pieces of tape, so. I've learned a lot of things about production and getting things done. I was like, two pieces of tape. That's all you need,
If you could see my setup, it's weird too. If you could see my setup, I mean, I've got this desk up here in my makeshift recording studio. For those of you who are watching, you can see this, but for those of you who aren't, you can't really see it. But here I'll just kind of give you
Behind the
whoa,
scenes.
here we go, behind the scenes. So I've got my microphone, I've got my desk that's just cluttered. I've got one screen with Bryan on it that I can't even look at when I'm looking at my camera because my camera sits right here in front of my microphone. So I'm
Wow.
looking off center, and then I've got my separate audio recording, and this is my makeshift studio where I have
Oh, look at
you
all that.
know
Yeah.
everything trying to stay motivated for production on Frightmare Theater and then this show too. So it's we work with what we got. And I've gone from, and if you, I don't know if you noticed this, but my camera, because I'm using Camo too, thanks to you, I found out about this great app, and this is a free plug for Camo. So you guys, maybe give us a little love.
It's free. It's free.
But
And this is this
yeah,
is the video quality. This is free video quality.
it's free. There is a paid version that's also great. I did that for a while, but then I've got this little setup thing for my camera that I bought. Before that, I was propping it up, but it would slide. But I've got this old Wendy's cup that I'm setting it on to get it up off my desk more. So, it's makeshift, but it works, and, whatever works. So,
Yeah, yeah. Who cares? We've figured out how to make it work. Pieces of tape, Wendy's cup, anything you got, and the
yeah,
light.
MacGyver it.
And I know you got a fancy ring light on you, don't you?
I do have a ring light, and I use that sometimes. I haven't used that the last few times. I have my main overhead light in here on right now. I also usually when I'm working in here, I don't like overhead lighting. For the most part, like bright lights when I work, especially. But I just don't like overhead lighting. I like lamps, and I like it kind of dim. So I have a black light in here, and this green light that I keep on my desk, and sometimes some other lights, so that and I have this like swirling light that I have in here to get me in the mindset. I'm a horror guy, so I do a lot of writing for that, and that's what I do. But yeah, that ring light comes in handy. I just did a podcast interview for another show called Pretty Much Pop the other day, talking with some of those guys. I talked to them a couple of years ago, and it was a lot of fun. They invited me back to talk about the Halloween franchise, and
All
so
right. Yeah.
I had to binge watch all the Halloween movies from which I love the very first one, all the way up through the new trilogy that they have, and the Rob Zombie movies too and stuff. And so we talked about that, and I did use that ring light again, but I'm always trying to figure out the best way to maneuver that thing in this tiny room that I'm in, because it's hard. I mean, it's a fairly big ring light, but it has that little holder for the camera in it, and that's awesome. I use that all the time for video submittals for auditioning, self tapes. And it really, that was a cheap Amazon thing, I believe. I have a couple ring lights. That's my favorite one, and I believe it was under $25, and it's fantastic. Yeah, highly recommend getting that.
And I didn't even try it. My light shine on me is just one of my lamps without I take the shade off, and
Yeah,
this is the light. I
yeah.
was like, I didn't even. So again, we use what we
DIY,
have.
baby.
Works pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So
Yeah,
anyway,
you look beautiful, Brian. Beautiful.
thank you. I try my best. I was in hair and makeup for like an hour before this. I hope
Yeah.
but I didn't shave, so I don't know. It's like, and I'm wearing a hat, so I don't know.
Just, again, want to reiterate, how thankful we are for all the listeners out there who've checked us out in season 1, and have supported our special guests that we've had on, and our guest co-host that was on when I was out of town, and just so thankful for your friendship, Bryan, and for our constant collaborations. In this journey of life that we're on, it's nice to have such wonderful, creative, talented, and inspiring friends. And so thank you. And I just also want to reiterate too to our listeners out there that we do want to hear from you. Please like the show, share the show, give us some feedback on the show. A rating and a review really helps us out. And we are debating if we're going to come back for a second season. And if we do, we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what you would like us to do, what you would like to see in a second season or hear in a second season. So, yeah, that's what I got.
All right,
Thanks
man.
for this opportunity, Bryan.
You too. Enjoy this. Like I said, we always had great conversations. Made a great show. Made a great first season. So we'll see what happens next season, if there is one.
Onwards and upwards, my friend. Onwards and upwards.
All right, man.